Hi Aquarius, welcome to your March 2020 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So in March, you have some activity in the second house of earned income. The sun is here at the beginning of the month. Mercury is retrograding here. So I'm curious, especially if you are listening in February, have you had any kind of snafus financially? Understand, with the money that you earn, or I would just say money in general, understand that this is very temporary and things will get sorted out. On the 4th, Mercury goes back into your sign. And this is interesting because going back to Mercury beginning the retrograde in the second house of earned income, the second house is also the house of your values and your self-esteem. So when Mercury is going back into the first house, you're rethinking something about yourself in general as it compares to maybe the money that you earn. What are your values? Are you working someplace where you're spending a lot of time, and does it line up with what you believe in? So, for instance, any kind of values that a person has that can change over time, depending on what the person is doing for a living, that may kind of come into conflict at some point. So, something could be going on in that area. And on the same day, on the 4th, Venus goes into Taurus, the sign that it rules. And this is your 4th house. So this is good for any kind of money issues that you that relate to, like property matters. If you're trying to sell a house or purchase a house, something could be happening on that front. You may just be like redecorating a home. On the 9th, Mercury goes direct at 28 degrees of Aquarius in your first house. So coming to some internal, well, I don't know if I'd say internal, but some kind of a decision about how you feel or how you want to promote yourself in some way. If you work in sales, this can be especially the case where you're like, I want to change my approach. I don't think it's working properly. I want to do things differently. So something along those lines, but not necessarily, depending on who you are. On the same day, there is a full moon at 19 degrees of Virgo in the 8th house. The 8th house is another money house, but a money house that is shared resources. So that can be finding out about a will. It can be something to do with paying off a debt, maybe. Maybe you finally have paid off a debt. And even like anything to do with like letting go of some kind of obsession or, addiction. And that's why when I say Mercury goes direct in your first house, that you kind of get a handle on who you are in this present time, and that can connect with, this is happening on the same day as the full moon. So it's like, I'm going to change this about myself. The 8th house is the house of transformation. So that is a form of, trying to change your life. So that's really cool. And then on the 16th, we have Mercury back in Pisces. So the sign that it retrograded and the house that retrograded, second house. So getting those affairs sorted out, and if you had any kind of issue with them, Mercury will come out of its shadow on March 20th. 30th. And so that's when it will be fully up to speed, like about the 31st. So on the 19th, we have the sun going into Aries. That's the astrological new year. And for you, this is the third house of communication, getting some kind of like training, perhaps. This is going to be an area that we see a full moon, a new moon in. I'll talk about that in a second. On the 21st, Saturn goes into Aquarius. If you're interested in, especially for you, since this is happening in your sign, please check my playlist, because I have it more in depth. But basically, this is a whole new cycle for you with Saturn in that first house, and it just is like a general getting your life together kind of a thing. And yeah, I mean, with that full moon in the 8th house, I can see you starting to really kind of ship up, or shape up, not ship out. And yeah, so this is something that is going to be kind of on and off again for 2020, because Saturn is going to go up to 1 degree of Aquarius, and then in May retrograde. So then it starts losing degrees. It goes back into Capricorn in whatchamacallit, early July, and then goes direct in September, and then goes back into your sign towards the end of December, okay, in the second half of December. So you're not going to have it in your sign for the rest of 2020. It's going to be on and off again. 2021, for sure, it's going to be full steam ahead with that. But remember, in the 12th house, when it's in Capricorn, that's kind of like the dark night of the soul. So I don't want to say dark night of the soul round 2, but really the 12th house, while some people see it as a challenging place because it deals with karma, for instance. And karma, I still, see people misusing the word karma. Karma means action, okay? So we talk about good karma, bad karma. Karma means action. And what we say is a law of the universe is that what you sow, you shall reap. Or what's the other one? That there's cause and effect in the universe, okay? Cause and effect. Not, karma, the way that people use it is like cosmic punishment. Just like, in Western concepts of God being this very punitive sky daddy type of a deal. And those kinds of concepts of what we're talking about here are not very advanced. They're more primitive, okay? This is about the 12th house is the sum of your actions and the results, the fruits of them, okay? It's very impersonal, it's not meant to punish people. It's meant as a learning experience. And when we learn, we're expanding, we're becoming more than we were. We're carrying that wisdom with us as we go along. And in 12th house is the place of wisdom, but not just from this lifetime, from the Akashic records, the place where we are learning, where we can go to tap into who we have been, so past life regression and things like that. And it's the unconscious or subconscious mind. And so Saturn, which is the Lord of Karma, hanging out here, may have, in some ways, kind of kicked people in the butt, in the sense that they said, look, you have had these things hanging around for multiple lifetimes. Are you going to do anything about it? Saturn is about being disciplined. And the 12th house, that's why, the 12th house is ruled by Neptune, so it's very different, and they kind of like have no similarities there. They're all about, the 12th house is all about dissolving, and Saturn is all about crystallization, bringing it into solid form. So, needless to say, these, when you have Saturn there, it's time to do more work. Saturn wants to get you serious about this. And we're talking about 12th house matters. We're talking about that area. So you'll have another opportunity to do some of this spiritual work. And it can be like in the form of creating something like a tangible thing, like a practice, like a meditation practice. Aquarius is an interesting sign because you guys are highly intuitive, but you're also highly intellectual. And sometimes you're an air sign, so the air signs in general might be quite scornful of that area of life. You might be a scientist, even if you're not officially one. You might have that scientific mind. And one of the pitfalls of the scientific mind is demanding tangible proof of things. This is a house that is much more concerned with things that are not of this world. It's immaterial. But you do have that intuitive side to you, and some of you are quite comfortable with the idea of the spiritual. So this will, I think, just make that demand on you that you, include that in your life in some capacity. On the 24th, there's a new moon at 4 degrees of Aries in the 3rd house. So, I'm wondering if some of you are getting training, extra, like credentials, so that you can do something and enhance your career skill set. It can also be getting involved with some writing project or communication project. And then on the 30th, Mars goes into your sign. That's good for physical energy and, being more active physically. So that, I wasn't even thinking about it, but I guess Mars is in your 12th house, which can be very like feeling like your hands are tied, maybe your legs are tied too. So you might be ready to just kind of get really involved in fitness and just a lot of movement in general, and just have more energy at your disposal. Okay, Aquarius, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you have a great March. If you'd like a personal reading, I'm going to provide the link to my offerings below. And thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.